Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our first professional development session of the day. My name is Sandra Ponting. I'm an assistant professor at San Diego State University, and I have the great pleasure of moderating today's informative session. So like any good session, we have 3 prolific panelists that will share their experiences on how to transition from being a PhD student to a full-time faculty member. I'm going to start off by introducing our amazing panelists. Yes, good morning to you all. Thank you for utilizing the chat box. So first, we have Dr. Dorgun Gursoy. He is the Taco Bell Distinguished Professor in Hospitality Business Management at Washington State University. He's also the editor of a top-tier journal, Journal of Hospitality, Marketing, and Management. We all know this journal. He is the recipient of the 2021 WFCHRIE Lifetime Research Achievement Award and the 2019 University of Delaware's Michael D. Olson Research Achievement Award. Dr. Gursoy is recognized as one of the leading researchers in the hospitality and tourism area. He's consistently ranked as one of the top 10 hospitality and tourism researchers in the world. His area of research includes services management, hospitality and tourism marketing, tourist behavior, travelers information search behavior, community support for tourism development, cross-cultural studies, consumer behavior involvement, generational leadership, sustainability, and artificially intelligent device use and service delivery. Thank you so much, Dr. Gursoy, joining us from Switzerland today. Now we have Dr. MinWoo Lee, who is an assistant professor at the Conrad and Hilton College of Hotel and Restaurant Management at the University of Houston. His areas of expertise are innovative technologies, service innovation, persuasion and decision-making, big data and business analytics and machine learning. He has published more than 30 peer-reviewed journal articles, book chapters, and trade articles in hospitality, tourism, and information system areas, and I'm sure it's counting. He serves as an associate editor of Journal of Hospitality and Tourism Technology and an editorial board member for International Journal of Contemporary Hospitality Management, Tourism Economics, and Journal of Smart Tourism. He also leads the Data Analytics and Service Innovation Lab. Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Lee. Now we have Dr. Hyounae Kelly Min, who is an assistant professor in the Collins College of Hospitality Management at California State Polytechnic University, Pomona. Her research focuses on the influence of social justice and diversity on cognitive and emotive responses from customers and employees. She has published her work in top-tier hospitality and business journals, such as Journal of Business Research, International Journal of Hospitality Management, and Hospitality and Tourism Research. More recently, Dr. Min is expanding her research to hospitality business analytics and social media analytics. She received her PhD in business administration from Washington State University. Thank you so much for being here, Dr. Min. So I'm going to start off our session with some pre-planned questions. As we progress through the session and complete these questions, we would welcome your questions through the chat box as well as the Q&A box. Yes, thank you so much for utilizing the chat box. Good morning to you, everybody. Okay, so the first question we would like to start off with is, at the starting point of your academic career, if you can remember, what were some ways that you built your research pipeline, specifically interested in post-PhD research projects? Let's start off with Dr. Gursoy.
Yeah, thank you for inviting. I got my PhD about 20 years ago, so it's hard to remember how it goes. But I think the one way you build your pipeline is focus on your dissertation and also building an expertise in one or two different areas. Focusing on those areas and continue working with the people you know. It's always a learning process. especially at the early stages, you learn, and then you need to work with people who has been doing this for a while, and you need a good mentor if you want to become an established researcher. And another way of establishing your pipeline is coming up with good research questions. So when people start their research, most of the time they start with a very generic idea. But if you have a very specific research question that you want to address, then it makes life easier. And the best way of identifying that is from following what's going on in the industry and trying to address industry problems. And that really helps build a research pipeline. I think that's all I have to say. And we have a few other people, and they are more recent graduates, and their memory is better than mine.
Thank you. Dr. Lee.
Okay, so I received my PhD from the University of Massachusetts Amherst in 2017. And then at the time, I took a look back at me and then, okay, what research questions or ideas I have had during my master. So at the time, I think I had lots of interesting questions, I thought, but in the PhD program, I realized, okay, how can I write my dissertation? And then can I finish my dissertation, right? So when I get a job at the University of Houston, so I just want to do more focus and also choose the topics I can do here. So every year I try to write down my research questions or topics I'm interested in or want to do here. And then I try to integrate them to 2 or 3 broad research areas. And then I double check whether those topics are connected to what I'm teaching or what I'm working on here. Then I could see clearly, okay, what research project should be my priority. And then try to think of tweaking and expanding what I have done during my PhD or what I have published in the journal so far. So that can help me to develop my research further through the research pipeline.
Great, thank you. Dr. Min.
Okay, this is a great question because I asked myself the same question right after I getting a job. So during PhD, you are really focused on your dissertation and you work really hard to complete your dissertation. And once you have a job, you feel like, now what? How can I develop further from here? There is no advisor who will hold your hand and guide you. So the strategy that I took was having conversations with my colleagues, my friends, PhD. During the PhD, I have a lot of friends and I had a conversation. And when we have a conversation, I genuinely developed new research ideas. And I have the focused area. And with that conversation, I could expand my research pipelines. So at first, I worked with the people I knew, like people that I met during my PhD program, my professors that I took class from. And later I slowly expand to build a network through various channels. For example, I met people through conferences and I work on the project with them. Also, I use the resources like that's exists. For example, like West Federation CRIE Research Hackathon was wonderful channel that I met with the new people and expands my research pipeline.
Great, thank you so much. I think that perfectly leads into our next question. And we'll start with Dr. Lee this time. So let me go ahead and share our question. So what were some strategies used to complete those research pipeline projects that you just referred to and lead them into, of course, the academic journal publication? Dr. Lee. Oh, muted.
I think this is a great question and also tricky question I'm looking for. But my strategy, if I share with you, is I always subscribe the leading hospitality and tourism journals, the news and regular issues, including Dr. Gursoy's journal, the Journal of Hospitality and Marketing and Management. So I can see what kind of articles are currently going on, and then what kind of values I can add to those mainstreams of the research in hospitality and tourism. And also to publish the papers or project I'm working on is, I think one of the best ways to find the best journal or the good journal for that publication. So I always check frequently the special issue because, as you know, my research topic and research focus is on the data mining and text mining, machine learning and data analytics. So when I published my first paper in 2017, there were only a few papers. And so when I submitted the paper to the journal, I even wrote more than 40 pages to address all the comments because the reviewers did not know well about my method, so I have to explain one by one. But when I found the good special issues from, for instance, Contemporary Journal or other leading journals, and then reviewers and editors of the special issue have their understanding about my research. So I could make a better fit with those special issues, and so I could increase the chance of the publication. And the third strategy is I try to review for the many different journals in hospitality and tourism because I want to just pay back to the journal after I publish the paper. So I have never declined any review requests from the journals I have published in. And also through the journal review, I could see the journal's trends and focus, and also learn very different perspectives from the other researchers. So I can reflect that on my paper. So I kept increasing my research publication, and also I could learn many different theories and perspectives from those manuscripts from the top journal in hospitality and tourism.
Thank you. Those are really great insights. I'm going to just rotate the order. So Dr. Min, I know you had some strategies that you shared in terms of network and communication. Did you have any insights or experiences, just how they led into academic journal publications?
Sure. Also, I would like to explain that the different school. So Cal Poly Pomona is a teaching focused school. So my situation will be a little bit different from Dr. Gursoy and Dr. Lee. So that being said, Cal Poly Pomona is teaching focused, but that doesn't mean we don't care for research. We have fruitful resources for research, but that doesn't mean that we have any pressure. So we have enough resources, but there is no pressure. So it's totally up to us to publish papers. So I had to create my own pressure for myself for publication, because sometimes pressures can be good motivators for publication. So I have a good network, and my colleagues gave me some pressure when we had work on the same project. So my colleagues work on timelines so that I have to work hard to meet their timeline. So another benefit of having good network is more experienced people can give you better advice on publication. For example, when you try to publish in IJHM and you are using experiment, one study won't work. You can publish papers with only one experiment. Now you have to have multiple studies. Before 2 was good, but now 3, 4 studies are very common. So those kind of advice that I can get from more experienced colleagues were very helpful.
Wow, thank you for sharing that. Extremely insightful. Dr. Gursoy, please.
My perspective on getting a paper from an idea stage to publication. The first thing is we all have good ideas. Everyone does. We talk about our ideas, but you have to make time for the research. You have to spend time. And then you need to work on the research. Just talking about it is not going to help. different people have different strategies. Some people allocate certain days for the research. For some other people, they work during the day, a few hours. Everyone has different strategies. So you have to figure out what works for you. You have to make time, and you need to figure out which approach works best for you. And then once you have an idea, and every idea is not publishable. You have to turn that into something publishable, something that makes sense, something that makes some contribution to the knowledge in the field. And to be able to do that, I mean, you have to come up with a research question that solves a problem. You need to solve someone's problem. And then also writing style is very important. Each journal has a different style and has different expectations. So reviewing for the journals and reading the papers published in recent years, that helps. So it will give you an idea of how you should write the paper. And then when you are writing the paper, you need to pay attention to what you say in the introduction section. And then you need to say at the discussion stage. But sometimes we spend so much time on a single paper, it takes sometimes a few months. And then we forgot what we said in the introduction section. And in the discussion section, we start talking about something new, something different. I mean, you have to have a very focused question, very focused introduction, and also you have to make sure that you are using theory. And from my own experience, if my papers have good conceptual development, it's easier to come up with experiments, it's easier to collect data, it's easier to come up with questions. And then you also need to have a very strong method. Many people are using these days with technology, you click and point stuff. It's very easy to use all different methods. So you need to know what you are using. You need to know what the requirements are. You need to know what kind of data you can use for what kind of method. So you need to have a very good, very strong method. And then your results, I mean, make the paper publishable. We make sure that we discuss the main findings and also we spend time discussing the minor findings. And then you need to clarify what kind of contribution you make, because top journals these days is very hard to get in, very hard to publish. Mm-hmm. All the journals are looking for good research questions that makes contribution to something, and whether to the discipline or whether to the knowledge or the industry. I think if you focus on those things, then the idea becomes a very publishable paper. And you also have a good storyline. And we have to develop a good storyline. That's very important for me. All my papers, we have very straightforward storyline. And then if you have a straightforward storyline, easy to read papers, that's extremely important. When I write a paper, I want to make sure that people can read the paper, can understand it, and the flow is good. Good theory, good methods, and a good discussion, and it makes a publishable paper if you have a good question. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And bringing in the perspective of the editor's point of view as well. Those are very insightful. We just received a Q&A question, and I think it's actually perfect timing because it does lead into our next question. All right, let me go ahead and share my screen one more time. Well, probably two more times. Any word of advice on balancing research, productivity with teaching and service? We all are subject to these commitments. We'll start with Dr. Min this time, if you don't mind.
Yeah, actually, Helena's question is perfect for my situation because Cal Poly Pomona is a teaching-oriented school. And my advice is just find topic that you're passionate about. I don't want to sound too much like cliche, but if you work on the project that you're passionate about, then you will work on it. You will want to work on it. And ultimately, that will benefit your teaching as well. So for example, in my case, I taught 3-4 classes per semester, but I always work on the project that I'm passionate about, the social justice and diversity related issue and equity related issue. And I'm teaching leadership and human resources management. So I work on those projects, and there are many multiple chapters that are related to those topics. So when I do literature review and when I go over my course materials, there are a lot of material overlapped, and my research idea gets better. And I always share the research outcomes with my students and always explained how I did and what was the survey question, etc. And students were really happy to hear about those research. So that's my advice. So find the areas, and I usually focus on the research projects that I want to work on. And if I don't really care for number but more quality. So if you find the area that you're interested in, and then even though you have a high service and teaching obligation, you will find a way to work on that research.
Thank you so much, and exemplifying the teacher-scholar model that we all want to become. Dr. Gursoy, would you like to share your experience and insights, please?
As I mentioned before, you have to make time. The most important thing is we all have, my workload is 40% teaching, 40% research, and 20% service. Okay, sometimes what we do is we take too much service. We take on too much service. We try to do too many things. So you need to learn to say no, and also you need to learn how to manage your time. Teaching, even if you are teaching 2 classes every semester, different topics, it doesn't take that much time compared to doing research. Research takes a lot more time, especially if you want to come up. People who do research, that's what I keep hearing. It takes a lot more time. It takes more dedication. You need to focus. So you need to allocate time that you can focus. And also you need to learn to manage your time. Managing time management is extremely important. If you look at all the top researchers, they are doing a really good job managing their time. And everyone, all of them teaches their classes. We all have at least 1 or 2 teaching roles per semester, and sometimes we teach different classes. But also, I think another issue is sometimes we spend too much time trying to come up with the perfect paper. There's no perfect paper. If there is no perfect paper, none of us will be able to come up with it. If you try to do that, then it will be stressful, and it will take a lot longer time. So you need to balance. So you need to know when to stop when it comes to doing your research. And also for the teaching, there are lots of materials out there. Even if we are teaching new courses, I'm teaching new courses too. Last year, I taught a completely new course. It wasn't even in my field. I got advice from people. I sent them a few emails and asked for advice to how to get ready, what kind of material should I use, and it made my life a lot easier rather than me coming up with the whole idea. So ask people. People are usually nice. If you ask them, they will give you advice and they will try to help you out. Okay? And then from a teaching perspective, you need to have the balance. Also, don't spend too much time on your research. Okay? You spend 40% teaching, 40% research, 20% service. So, since this is our job, this is how our contracts so set. I think that's what we need to do. We need to allocate 40% of our time and try to manage that time. But what happens is, what I have seen, especially among young scholars, they get so stressed about their research. They spend so much time on their research. It affects their family life. It affects their work life. It affects their teaching because of stress. And they end up working at home until 1, 2 in the morning. You have to know when to stop. You have to balance. You have to have time for yourself, for your family, And also the research and teaching you do. I think those are very important because many people in our fields, or in other fields, say that burnout, I mean, job burnout is a real issue, and among academics, it's a big issue. So you don't want to get a burnout. And then, I mean, to balance, again, work with other people. We are not experts on everything. We don't know everything. So find people who you can work with, you are compatible, and it will make you a better researcher, you learn from them. The same thing with the teaching. Try to get advice from more experienced people who has been doing it for a longer period of time, but be focused and manage your time. I think that's extremely important for balancing teaching, research. It's not only about teaching, research, and service, it's also about your family. Most of the young scholars, they have new families, they have young kids, so you have to spend time. So it's a balance issue, and you need to know when to stop. You cannot do this all the time. I know, and that's what we are trying to do, but you need to know when to stop. And quality of life, you need to have some quality of life. Otherwise, you will burn out and you won't be effective in research or teaching. And that's all I have to say about this topic. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Gursoy, and also pointing to the importance of letting go at some point. We're not all perfect, as you mentioned. Dr. Lee, please.
Yeah, I completely agree with Dr. Gursoy's point because we always had a limited time as a new assistant professor, right? But we have to do many different things, advising students and also doing research and teaching, and also doing service for the college and our community, right? So I just use the triple dipping strategy I have developed, which is I just try to connect to my research focus because my main focus is my research. So I try to connect my research focus or interest to my teaching and services. For instance, I have been developing 4 different courses since I joined here in 2017. Those are social media marketing in hospitality and tourism, and innovative hospitality technologies, and hospitality metrics and data analytics, and also hospitality business analytics and communication at the graduate and undergraduate level. But those are very similar to what I'm doing for my research. So I always bring my research data, for instance, machine learning or data analytics, to my data analytic courses. So I don't have to newly develop new data for my classes, right? And also I can bring my social media marketing papers as an example for my social media marketing courses. And also technology always can be used for all those classes, right? So I could reduce my time and more focus on those 3 areas we have to do as a faculty. And the second strategy is very related to what Dr. Min mentioned about the network. So whenever I need to do the service, I try to catch on my senior professors and then ask them. And then they actually ask me back, okay, so what are you going to do? Or what do you want to do after you get tenure? Administrator or researcher or good teacher? So I just said, okay, I want to be a productive researcher. And then they said, okay, then you may focus on these committees regarding the research. So I'm working on the research committee for the research evaluation or journal ranking committee. So I could serve on those committees, but at the same time, I could learn many different things related to my research. So I could do those jobs, I think, in a timely manner as a new professor.
Thank you so much. And also, again, emphasizing the alignment between research and teaching and how it can kind of be a collaborative effort, and also utilizing your network. And I really appreciated Dr. Gursoy's strategy in terms of utilizing your network when it comes to your teaching efforts as well. And I think this alludes to, again, a perfect transition to our next question. With all of this in mind, with our efforts towards teaching, research, and service, how do you really balance your work and life during these times? Would you like to share some specific examples? Dr. Gursoy, please.
I mean, my strategy is simple. I only work in the office. I come to office. I only work in the office. I come to office. I start working. When I leave the office, most of the time my work is done. I have to have time for myself. I mean, from a 9 o'clock to 5. It's a 9 to 5 job. So when I go home, I don't usually work on. I don't work in research. It has been my strategy for so many years. And if you can manage your time in the office, I think you should be able to be productive. And because many people, we get job burnout rate among academics very high. And you don't want to do that. I mean, people force themselves, they do research until they get their tenure or become a professor, and then they stop. You don't want to do like that. You need to enjoy what you do. And to be able to enjoy it, you need to know when to stop. Then you can come back, and then you can continue working on whatever you have to do. If it's in your mind all the time, you won't enjoy it. So it will be a source of great stress. So, I mean, again, managing, balancing your time and having your priorities. What's important for you? So you have to decide. And then, I mean, don't make time for other stuff. Not on the research, teaching. And I think what we need to remember, this is a job. Okay? This is not everything. This is a job. That's why we do our best in every area, and then we try to succeed, but don't make it the whole thing, your main focus in your life. Don't do that. It is going to hurt you in the long term. So, I mean, that's my strategy. 9 to 5, not 9 to 5, and then I stop. And it has been working for me so far. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gursoy, encouraging us to separate our work and our life timely. And we really appreciate the fact that you're pointing out that this is a job. Thank you so much for pointing that out. How about let's go to Dr. Min.
Yeah, it's quite similar. Block the time for myself and my family. So when I did my PhD, I worked all the time, like literally lived in my office. But once I graduated, I realized I was in my office and I thought I was working all the time, but that doesn't mean I was productive. So I was just physically there, but I wasn't really productive. So when I started my work, I swore myself, I'm not going to do that way anymore. I'm going to focus when I work really in my office. And once I'm off, I'm going to have a rest. So my husband and I, we have that kind of a block of a time that we don't work. So we don't work on Friday night and Saturday. If we have to work, we work on Sunday. So Friday night and Saturday is just our family time. And that actually helped be more productive in terms of research.
Great, thank you so much in raising the importance of blocking time off for yourselves. Dr. Lee, please.
Yes, thank you. Well, I think I may not be a good person who give the answer for this question because I failed to find my balance in life so far, but I'm still looking for it because I'm a husband and also dad of the 3 boys. And I'm advising 6 master students, 3 PhD students, and more than the postdocs. So one of my serious challenges I have had is to find the time to work. So when my boys were young, I went to bed with them around 8 or 9 p.m. And then I slept with them and wake up early morning, 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. and work until the early morning and then had to sleep 1 hour sleep and then brought them to the school. But now I'm trying to find some days for my life and also for my wife and also my boys. even though I'm presenting during the weekend. So my wife brought all the boys to outside because I'm presenting at home. So what I'm trying to do right now is to make one of the weekdays for my wife and also myself, and also one of the weekend days for my boys. Then I can concentrate on my work for only 5 days. I hope I can find the good strategy working from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. as Dr. Gursoy recommended. And also another strategy I'm using is every night I write 5 to 10 items with each the priority rank. I have to do complete the tomorrow. So because we have too many things we have to take care of, right? Within a limited time. So I'll try to figure out, okay, what I have to do before than the other. So it's really helpful for me to work different things in a timely manner. So those are what I'm doing, but I'm still testing. So maybe next year, if I join here again, and then I'll share what's the outcomes I found.
Great. And we look forward to your outcomes. And I commend you for taking care of 3 boys. That's quite a bit.
Yeah.
Well, that kind of ends the scheduled question for the session. Now I would love to open it up to our attendees or audience here, because I can see some active chats going on. Please feel free to type in your chat and or put it into the Q&A box. Yes, I agree with you, Dr. Ward, that the smiles and humor confirm that your approaches are successful. We're all smiling here, yes. Okay, we have one question. What has been the most rewarding moment so far in your career? Okay, let's go with Dr. Gursoy.
I think every step in your career is rewarding. There isn't a most single rewarding. Once you get the reward, once you reach to a level, then you start working towards the next one, and that becomes the most rewarding one. And then you work towards the next one, and that becomes the most rewarding one. You go stage by stage. Then you graduate, and you do your job. I mean, you find the job, and that becomes your most rewarding moment. Then you start, you publish your first paper. That becomes the most rewarding moment. Then you publish your 110 paper. Still becomes your most rewarding. Then you get your promotion, your tenure becomes the most rewarding. When you become a professor, becomes sounds like a most rewarding moment. So every step, I think every achievement, everything you accomplish becomes a most rewarding moment, and then the following one becomes, I guess, more important, more important for some reason. So we never stop.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing that insight. Dr. Lee, please.
Yes, I can agree more with Dr. Gursoy's point. Yes, now, because I'm not sure Dr. Gursoy remembered, but I actually applied for the Ph.D. at the Washington State University, and then I had spoken with him about the PhD study, and also I have met him at the conferences, and I have received many different types of advices. We are listening, so it's really, to me, it's very exciting and also the pleasant to be here and then discuss my research and experience with everyone here. And also, I don't know, I'm really happy with my work and research and teaching at the college, because we have very good people. So I just want to always become a good colleague and friends and family at the college and also in my home. So yes, I'm really happy and I'm really enjoying my work life because I can do what I want to do and what I enjoy.
Thank you. I think that's one of the privileges that we have, a little bit sense of autonomy. Yes. Dr. Min, please.
Well, the most rewarding moment. I could say when I received email from students about my work. So when I shared, I still remember vividly that moment that I shared my research regarding diversity management during my class, and I shared the result of my study. And students were happy and they were active discussion and all that. And then I forgot about it. And after 2 years, I received an email from graduate, and students now get a job in a hotel, and she specifically mentioned that what I shared during the class actually helped her to learn more about the industry and more about the customer and the changes in demographic in this country. And she sincerely appreciated what I shared during the class. And it was just one email, but I felt really rewarded because sometimes I feel lost. So why am I doing all this work just for what? Sometimes I have the doubt for myself, but that kind of a moment reassure that why I'm doing this research, I can actually contribute. This is a really tangible contribution. So that gave me more motivation, and it was really rewarding moment when I received that kind of comments from students.
Yes. Congratulations, Dr. May. How rewarding. We have another question. Dr. Dewald said, do or did you have a mentor? And do you mentor new faculty? Dr. Gursoy?
Yeah, I had a good mentor and really helped me. And also I worked with lots of new faculty, new PhDs. I mean, I think these days most of the work I do is on mentoring people, new PhDs or new academics in different universities, and we do lots of research when it comes to research and teaching. And mentoring is part of the job. If people are asking for your help, then we provide the help. You cannot mentor someone who's not asking for you. And then when people ask for help, and then it's a process. So we learn from them, they learn from us. In mentoring, we mentor younger scholars. And also we learn lots of things from them, new approaches, what's going on in young academics and the stress they are dealing with. And mentoring, we try to help them out, but to a certain degree. But I mean, people, I think one of the things with mentoring is some people may not have mentors. One of the main reasons is because they never ask. If someone doesn't ask for my help, how can I provide help? And you don't even know what they need. So people need to ask if mentoring is an issue. Yes, but I mean, I had a good mentor, and I mentored lots of people. Not only in the US, I also had students in Europe, in Asia, and in different universities, and we have been really good research. Really good research. Hardworking people with like guiding and mentoring, they become very productive. Thank you. I think that's all I have to say on this.
Thank you. And raising the importance of the dyad relationship, that it's two ways, mentor and mentee. Dr. Lee, please.
Yes, I think rely on my not official but unofficial mentors in my college, and also including my college professors and also my former advisors. But usually I try to catch our dean and associate deans or the senior faculty professors once or twice a year to see what they are expecting from me or what they are looking for from me. Then also I can ask any kind of questions or ask for advices I'm looking for any single moment when I work for the college or research. So it really helped me to see, okay, what values I can bring or what need to do for the college or my people. So that's my own strategy.
Great, thank you so much. And utilizing our colleagues as a resources, lack of a better term. Dr. Min, please.
Yeah, our school has program that when I started, I had a mentor who helped me to go through my tenure procedures. And if I have any questions, I can freely ask the question to him. And also I served as a former mentor to a new faculty in my school. So yes, there were mentor and worked as a excuse me, mentor. But over time also, as Dr. Lee mentions, you find unofficial mentor for you. So you find a role model. So not necessarily that person work in my school, that person can work for somewhere else. But I find those people and I contacted them, and they serve actually unofficial mentor of me. So that those people were really helpful.
Yeah, and I think the lesson there is don't be scared to reach out to these mentors, potential mentors. Thank you. I think we have a little bit of time, and Dr. Dewald had another question. It says, English is not your first language. Have you published in your first language? Anyone?
Yeah, I will go first. I publish in my first language is Turkish. I publish in Turkish. I publish in Spanish. I publish in Chinese. I publish in English. And we publish in many different languages. I think we're living at the moment world. And then sometimes we publish papers and they translate into different journals. And many of my papers were translated into Spanish and Chinese. So, and we publish in many different languages, but since the main, depending on in which part of the world you are, Spanish community in the world, they have their own set of journals. And they have their own conferences, and mainly Spanish and Portuguese. And then we have English language publishing going on. So you need to balance both sides, not only your first language, but also the other languages.
Great, that's quite inspiring.
Okay, so I can go next.
Yes.
So I haven't published any paper in Korean because I think that would be more difficult for me because I did my master and PhD in the US. So I'm very familiar with terminology, all terminologies in English. So I found Koreans use very specific terminology for like methodology and all that. So when I read that, it was really foreign languages to me. So I could understand, but I don't think I can write papers in Korean.
Yeah,
Dr. Lee.
I completely hear Dr. Min. So I'm from South Korea as well. So we have been educated here, right, for a more than I think the 6 years here. So I'm not familiar with the terms or jargons the Korean researchers are using for their journals. But last year I wrote one book in Korean to introduce digital transformation and data analytics we have developed here in US. So it was very challenging. It was very good experience, but it took more than 2 years to write one book. So I told the friend, okay, if I wrote the papers here instead of the book in Korean, and then I might be more productive. Just one outcome, but it's really exciting moment and experience, but it's a little bit hard for me to write the paper in Korean. Yes.
Thank you so much. I think that actually ends our session time-wise. I know that it's been a fruitful session since we have all been seeing all these wonderful comments in the chat box. We cannot thank you enough for being here on a Saturday. and Saturday morning, and Dr. Gursoy from Switzerland. So we really appreciate your service to our community and the Academy. This is where we end, and I know you can't see us, but I would like to give a round of applause to all our panelists and our audience. Thank you so much.